All right, working on the Camaro again. So I put the strut tires in, and sometimes it's easier to take that nut out and drop this down to get all this in. That's what I had to do on the other side. Sometimes it'll go right in, sometimes it won't. But I got both strut tires in, I got the wheels on, and then I went to the drag strip and watched some racing. Austin had a baby shower they're expecting. And when he came over, he put the torque arm, cross member, drive shaft in it. And I fixed the brake line. That brake line, it was rusted inside here. And it broke when he unscrewed it. And I reflared it, hopefully. Just a little cheaper reflayer kit from Advance. Hopefully it holds. I'm about 60% on the flares. 60% of the time it works. 40% of the time I got to take it back out and cut it and reflare it. But I didn't think his gauge was reading right. So I mean, when he first started the car, it only went up to like 30 and stayed. So
it was like 35, like 38.
I hooked it to this, and when he first started, it went up to 55, and then when it warmed up, it dropped down to about 40, which is about right. I got a stock pump on mine, and we didn't replace the cam bearings on mine either, and mine holds crazy oil pressure. When you first start mine, it shoots up to like 70, but after you drive it a little bit, it drops to 40 after it gets warmed up. But they're having the drag strip today, the Kentucky Dragway. They have a Cars and Coffee in the morning. They stacked the whole track. I mean, the whole quarter-mile track was stacked with, on the actual track. The cars parked on the track, and and then after that they had a test and tune, and then they set up like a little slalom track on the, however you say that, on the drag strip. And they did that for a little bit, and now they're having Octane. What's it called? Octane?
Octane Night Meet.
The Octane Night Meet, which is another little car show where they stack the track.
To spectate.
And it's free to spectate. It's pretty cool. I don't know if you can hear them over there, but it is kind of cold today. It wasn't this afternoon. The sun poked out a little bit, and it's pretty nice. But that's pretty cool if you guys are in Kentucky. It's the second Saturday of every month. If you ever want to check that out, it's pretty cool. But when I tested his oil pressure, I did it on the bull feed line, and the end fitting fell apart on me when I was tightening it up. So I'm gonna have to take the one off my nitrous line and stick it up in there. So I'm gonna get another one ordered. No big deal.
I blame Marshall.
Well, the 18th, because Kentucky Dragway is not having a test and tune, we're going to go to London and hit that one with a big shot.
Marshall,
see the difference.
How's this fitting is on this wastegate?
And then after that, I'll go to the track and spray mine with 100, 150, 200, and maybe even a 250. If it picks up from the 150 to 200, we'll try the 250. And then we'll put the GT45 turbo on there, and we'll get to see the difference. So we're putting 15s on this car, so we can go 275/60. So what you got to do is you got to grind it down on the outside edge there, or the wheel won't clear. It don't take a whole much. That's what you got to do. And I'll also take the bump stop out. His is still in there, but it's pretty much gone. But I even cut that out on mine, and the reason for it is when you got the 275/60s on there, if you jack the car up from the body, the panhard bar pushes the rear end that way, and then the tire will hit on that part, and it could cut it. So that's why I cut those out. But now if you jack it up from the rear end, it's not a problem. It's only when you jack it up from the body that the panhard bar, when that goes down, the panhard bar tilts that way and it pushes the rear end that way. And then the inside of your tire hits right on that ledge. And I don't know, it was sitting so hard on mine. Maybe my rear end moves over farther in some other cars and my rear end drops lower in some, I don't know. But it was hitting so hard on mine, it looked like it was going to pop the tire. So, you know, if you ever went to a tire shop, they lift, you know, and they use a 2-post lift and lift it from the body. You know, there's a chance that tire swing over and hit that and put a hole in it. So I cut that out on mine. I cut this whole area out where any of that's sticking out. I cut it all the way up to right there, all the way down there, just a little rectangle there. But yeah, that's what you got to do to your rotors to clear the 15-inch wheels. I call them rims. Like before, I call it the rim, and then I call it the tire, and when they're together, I call it the wheel. That just makes more sense to me. I mean, there needs to be a different name for when they're both together and when they're both separate. That's just my opinion. It's all buttoned up. We're going to put a heat cycle in. Well, Austin drove it over to the octane meet, and as I was pulling in, everybody was pulling out. It's supposed to start raining here in a little bit, and I think they shut her down because it's about to start raining. But Austin drove the car over here, and it sounded really good. I don't know where he went, but I could hear him from the house driving over here. And it was whoa, it sounded good. But yeah, this place is cleared out, man. It looked good. There was a ton of people here. And as I was pulling in, I bet I passed 20 cars coming out the gate as I was pulling in. I don't know where he went. I wanted to follow him and get a video of him driving it, but he runned off before I could go jump in the truck. But something going on up there. Not sure what. But I'm gonna go find him. So the car passed its maiden voyage. So Austin freaked out because the oil pressure dropped to, I don't know, 10. Yeah, but we put a gauge on it up here. I put a gauge on it and it's reading, the car's only idling about 700, so it was reading about 30. But once I revved it up to about 1,000, it was reading 40. And then I revved it up about $3 grand, it jumped to 60. But so we got plenty of oil pressure. His sensor just ain't working right. This is a 98 car. The 98s use the 2-wire oil sensor, but he put the 99 through 02 ECM and harness on it. And I put a 1-wire in it because I'm stupid and I ordered the wrong part. But his oil pressure gauge was never reading right. It always jumped around. So even when he blew up the car, I'm not even sure if the oil pressure was jumping around or if it was just the gauge. Because the gauge just randomly jumps around. And his fuel gauge, it randomly works. So I think there's a connection back there.
My fuel gauge never works.
It never works?
Never.
Oh, I thought you said it works every now and then.
It used to. It'd be on dash and come on.
Yeah. I think there's something loose back there, but anyway.
Pressure on this now.
Huh?
But that thing's bleeding off, I guess.
It's bleeding all the pressure off because you had that loose. Did you get it tightened?
And so. It don't look like it's dripping anymore, does
we
it?
had a little leak at the Peacock, and we fixed that. But other than that, nothing's leaking. The only other issue is the oil gauge not reading right. But I think he wants to run a manual gauge anyway, so. I think he's wanting to gut this car and lighten it up and take the dash out and put manual gauges in it anyway. So that's probably where this car is heading. Is that what you're going to do?
I don't care what we do to it. Let's gutter and tubular front end, tubular K-member. Let's just do it all.
I thought that's what you said you was going to do. Yeah, if you're going to do all that. And I don't know what kind of racing you want to do, but I thought you mentioned you wanted to take most of the, I don't know.
I do want to take that rubber mat and stuff out for sure.
We do need to figure out why that oil pressure gauge isn't working right. Even with the 2-wire sensor in there, it still wasn't working right. But I was wanting to get him get a video of him driving over there, but he was driving over there. He wasn't getting on it or nothing, just regular driving, but it sounded good. It was like, whoa, whoa. I could hear him drive all the way over there. It's about a half mile to the drag strip.
Yeah, definitely wasn't getting
But
on.
the oil pressure gauge is reading about 30 low versus what the actual pressure is, because I hooked a pressure gauge up here. We took it off the turbo and hooked it to the gauge, and the gauge was reading good.
Where did this go?
We don't have an oil pressure problem. We have a gauge reading problem. But he's got to run vacuum lines. He's got a vacuum line. He's got to run for the regulator, the wastegates, and a bunch of other stuff we have to tidy up. But and then we got to get a tune. Once we get a tune, you guys will see some action of this car at the track. What do you guys think it'll put down? What do y'all think it'll run at the track? Hit the comments, like and subscribe. Have a great day.